Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is Open Mic. What is Open Mic? Well, you see, every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday, we save time to take live questions from the audience, but we love the live questions. So here on the weekends, that's all we do. We just take live questions from you guys, and that's what we're going to do here today, talking about all the things that you guys want to talk about. And a couple things to talk about off the top here. Earlier this morning, my wife Ann and I went to go see a screening of Frozen 2. It's wonderful. Like, it's really, really good. I actually personally thought it was better than the original. It's very funny. I think it's got better music than the first film does. Now, no one song in Frozen 2 is as good as or as memorable as Let It Go. But overall, the music in this one I thought was better. It's a really good movie. This film is going to do well for them. It's going to do really, really damn well for them. So that was fun. Also, last night, for those of you who follow me on social media, I installed Jedi Fallen Order. And now I do not like using console controllers, despite the fact that I have a PS4 Pro. I don't like using these things at all. I'm very much, my brain's just wired as a keyboard and mouse guy. So I was excited because they had a PC version of Jedi Fallen Order. So I got on Epic Games, downloaded it, and the first thing it tells me is, well, you can play this game with a mouse and keyboard. It's really not meant for that. You might want to use a controller. I'm like, no, I don't like controllers. So I play around with the game for like 3 minutes, and I get outrageously frustrated with it. I'm like, after 3 minutes, I'm like, nope, give up, uninstalled the game. Uninstalled the game after 3 minutes. It's just the thing. You can tell by my career, I'm a very patient man. But I have never had any patience for video games. Like, none. It's like, it's a vice. I really wish I did, because there are some games, some great games that I just never played because I just got frustrated with, like Red Dead Redemption 2. I never played it because I tried playing it for about 2 minutes, went, nope, these console controllers, no good for me, got rid of it. And so I never played it. Now, of course, they have a PC version out now, but everybody's telling me to wait till the bugs get worked out. So yeah, I installed Jedi Fallen Order, tried it for 3 minutes, uninstalled it. So then I'm hanging around. I thought, I'm just hearing such good things about the game. Oh, fine. So I gave it I reinstalled it, and I tried playing it with this stupid thing. And I played it for about a half hour. I played it for about a good half hour. And it's still using console control. My brain is just not wired for console controllers. Never have been. But I mean, this goes all the way back to in television days. My brain is just not wired for controllers. Anyway, but I did play it for about a half hour. Had a pretty decent time. I'm going to give it another shot tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to play it a little bit longer and see if I can get into it a little bit more and see if I can just start to adjust to this controller thing. But it's really not for me. But whatever. It's Star Wars, so I want to give it a harder try. Anyway, guys, enough with all that kind of stuff. Let's get into talking about the things you guys want to talk about, because you guys have been sending in all that stuff you wanted to talk about. Let's get to it here. And the first thing we're going to get to today is from ZOMG Rule, who writes, Episode 3 is my starting point for Star Wars, F1 and 2. Well, to me, F3 as well. But I've always said, as somebody who is a fully confessed, fully embraced prequel hater, I am. Although there are things about the prequels, there are elements of the prequels that I like, and I talk about those often. I've always said this, at least Episode 3 is the least offensive. I've found Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, to be the least offensive. So that's mine. But there are people out there who actually really not just like Revenge of the Sith, but like all the prequels. And that's the great thing about movies, is we all like different things, which is great. Logan James Kynaston writes, do you think we'll ever see a Chris Cornell biopic? I've heard that Peter Berg is directing a documentary about him with Brad Pitt producing. I'll be honest with you, I have no interest in it. It's almost zero. Like, there are some exceptions, but generally speaking, I think there are much more important, much more fascinating people in the world who have done much more important things in the world than musicians. I mean, musicians. Okay, great. Rock stars, great. Now, don't get me but me saying that makes it sound like I've never liked a musical biopic. And you guys know, if you've watched my channel, that that's not true. There are musical biopics I actually quite enjoy. But I personally have no interest in a Chris Cornell. I mean, clearly the dude has fans and they would probably be interested, and I understand that. But like, even my own personal favorite band of U2, I'm not all that interested in a biography about them or about a live action movie about them either. I just think there are far more important people in the world and in our history who've done far more important things, vastly more important things than what musicians do, and have done far more interesting things. But in our culture, we are enamored with celebrities, and I'm as guilty as anybody. Let's not pretend like any of us are above that. I am as guilty of that as anybody. But generally speaking, I'm just not. I have no interest in watching the life story of a musician. I'd rather see the life story of, a guy who created the procedure to help fix spinal problems, to help people walk again. I'm more interested in, seeing a life story about a guy who perfected a certain science that let mankind go into space. I'm just more interested in that sort of stuff, generally speaking. But I do get the enough, so I don't know. I honestly don't know if we'll ever see one or not. A documentary could be interesting, though, I got to say, especially if it's being done by Peter Berg. That could be very interesting. All right. Russell Amador writes, "Hey, John, Marvel Studios announced dates for 2022 and 2023 for 8 upcoming untitled Marvel movies, with one being Black Panther, which we already knew about. Any idea on the other 7? Well, I mean, there's a couple that we automatically know will automatically be in them. Captain Marvel 2. That's clearly going to be one of them. We already know an Ant-Man 3 is coming. So, because they've already announced they just rehired the director from Ant-Man 1 and 2 to come back and do 3. That's going to be one of them. So there's 3 right there. Black Panther 2, Captain Marvel 2, Ant-Man 3. Outside of that, I'm not really sure. Although, that's something Robert and I will talk about on the Weekly Hero this week. That will be one of the topics. Actually, we'll probably talk about this on the John Campea Show on Monday as well. So we'll have some more speculation for that. But for right now, the only 2 that I know are a lock besides Black Panther are Captain Marvel 2 and probably Ant-Man 3. But we'll talk more about that this week on the John Campea Show for sure. Orange Hand writes, "Ever watch any of those VFX artist react videos?" I haven't. And they've popped up on my suggestion list before, because I have a background in visual effects. I am curious about them, but I've just never actually got around to watching them for whatever reason. I will at some point, though, because I think that's a great idea. JB Bonifacio writes, "Favorite films of the 2010s. Scott Pilgrim, 2010. Attack the Block, 2011. I was never as big on Attack the Block as a lot of other people were. I liked it. I liked Attack the Block. John Boyega. But I was never as into it as a lot of other people were. At any rate, Avengers 2012, Gravity 2013, that's a nice little film, Ex Machina 2014, The Martian, I love that movie, La La Land 2016, Coco 2017, Spider-Verse 2018, and Jojo Rabbit 2019. Still, it may not be there by the end of the year, but Jojo Rabbit is still in my personal number 1 spot of the year. Now, and that's after seeing Parasite, that's after seeing The Farewell, that's after seeing Ford v Ferrari. Jojo Rabbit is still my number 1 film. I still have a couple more to go, though. I still have a few key ones that I need to see. But man, Jojo Rabbit's so damn good. Anyway, nice list, dude. I like that a lot. Joseph Slade writes, "Hey, John, what are some of your favorite horror thrillers?" Oh, I don't know. I don't keep that list off the top of my head, to be honest with you, Joseph. My favorite one is The Invitation, starring Logan Marshall Green. Also, any news on Amazon's Lord of the Rings series? I haven't really heard any news. Like, a number of months ago, they put out that little, you can't even call it a teaser trailer, but they put out that little sizzle thing where they were highlighting all the behind-the-scenes people that are working on this Lord of the Rings show. And it is a killer's row of insanely talented people. Like, I remember watching that, and I'm already excited for a Lord of the Rings show, but my excitement level tripled, just like that. Watching all these people. If you have not seen it, I highly, highly encourage you. Go on YouTube, look up Lord of the Rings Amazon talent video or something like that, and you should find this little sizzle they put together of all these crazy talented people who are working on this show, and it just made me super hyped. But I haven't heard anything about it since then. As soon as I do, I mean, obviously there were these little casting things that we've all talked about, but no significant news besides that, which is not surprising at this point, I guess. Suthius writes, "Hey, Mr. C, help me out. I don't understand why Snyder keeps releasing more and more concept art or unused art for Justice League. What's his game here? Keeping himself in the conversation. And I don't fault him for that. I mean, if you want, and listen, he's got a new movie coming out, you know? So why not keep yourself in the public eye and keep yourself in the conversation? Because whenever he drops one of those pictures, everybody starts talking. He's been doing it for years. And I don't blame him for it, but that's probably why he's doing it. Slim Trav, which again is not a bad idea. Slim Trav writes, do you have hope that Venomverse can work? To me, it's already working. Venom was fun. I had a really good time with Venom, and it was super successful, made over $800 million. It's already working. Here's hoping. Let's see which way Morbius breaks. Does it break good? Does it break bad? We'll have to wait and see. Let's see. Kenneth Colton writes, happy Saturday, Gio. Thank you so much. Hope you have a great weekend. I'm already having a great weekend. Had a good time with Ann last night, and then this morning we got up early, but then headed over to an early morning screening of Frozen 2. Then we went and dropped in on a birthday celebration of some friends of ours. And now we're having Friendsgiving today here at the house. So we've got a bunch of people coming over to the house today to celebrate Friendsgiving. So we're going to be doing that. So yes, I'm already having a marvelous weekend. Thank you for that, Kenneth. All right. Andrea Valentova writes, one of two. As somebody who's suffered from anxiety attacks in the past, I try to avoid stress. And also, I don't like to watch horrors and thrillers anymore, so I haven't seen it or Quiet Place. But I dreamt the whole movie anyway. Quiet Place. Yes, I dreamt my own version. Welcome to my weird brain. I love it. And hey, listen, absolutely. I've got a couple of friends, one of which you guys know, who I won't name, but has super major anxiety about certain things, right? And so, okay, if that's the case, don't watch certain kinds of movies. There are some people who have very, very sensitive skin to, being out in the sun too much. Okay, don't go out in the sun all that much without, proper sunblock or whatever. You do think, we all have our own little issues. We all have them, for sure, that make us our own little bit of uniquely weird. And so we adapt by just, don't doing a lot of things that expose us to the things that cause our stress. I have a fear of heights. I don't know when I developed fear of heights. I used to climb 30-foot ladders, no problem when I was here. At some point in my life, I developed a fear of heights. So, okay. I don't put myself in a lot of situations where I'm going to vomit from being up too high. So we all do it, so I don't blame you at all. But one of these days, Andrea, you're going to have to send me the script of the Quiet Place movie that played out in your head, because that would be interesting to see. All right. Let's see. What's next? Thanks for sending that in, Andrea. All right. Roke Tutu writes, I'm conflicted. Mandalorian is nowhere near the skill level of Boba or Jango. According to what? According to what? What huge great skill did we see Boba Fett do in the movies? I mean, not a hell of a lot. And I would contest that Jango just took on the Bosk species, took on 3 Bosk species bounty hunters alone and took them all out. So I don't know that I would say that in the least. Anyway, he also walked so slow. Well, if you have to walk across the desert, you're going to pace yourself too. You got to, if you're not an idiot, you're going to pace yourself. Not the baddest bounty hunter I was expecting. I don't know what you're talking about, dude. He takes on an entire compound on his own, takes out 3 Bosk bounty hunters single-handedly. So I got to ask, Roke, what show are you watching? Because the one I watched very, very, very clearly does show him to be a hell of a badass. So anyway, that's just me. All right. Phi Nguyen writes, spoiler warning for Mandalorian. Oh, well, then we're not gonna show it. We're not gonna talk about your question. Guys, it's no point in saying spoiler warning. Then don't send it in. All due respect, but you don't say spoiler warning and then just don't send that in. Don't send in spoilers. Anyway, Willow Yang writes, how dare you say Spongebob is not real art? Oh yeah, I was joking about that the other day. Just wait, this movie will surprise audience and subvert expectations, just like the upcoming Barney movie. Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but Robert and I, what Willow is referring to, I should say, springs out of a conversation Rob and I were having on the show, and SpongeBob came up, the SpongeBob movie. And I channeled like an inner Scorsese, like, but SpongeBob isn't really art. It's a different art form, blah, blah, blah. So I just pulled a little bit of that. And I like how you throw in there a little bit of the Barney thing. It's going to subvert expectations, just like the Barney movie. Is that not the dumbest thing any executive has ever said? You're talking about a Barney movie. We are going to surprise and subvert expectations for our audiences. We're still talking about a Barney the dinosaur movie, right? Like, is he going to straight up murder somebody? Because if Barney straight up like murders one of the kids, like the kid show up, let's play Barney, and Barney's like strangles the kid to death. Okay, you got me. You subverted expectations. Anything short of that, shut up. Anyway, Lord of Thunder, Prince of Stars writes, Marvel's expanding the universe is hype fuel on Disney Plus. Let's see. I'm certainly excited about a lot of the shows. I'm excited about the Loki show. I'm very intrigued by Falcon and Winter Soldier. WandaVision could be interesting, even though it looks kind of weird, but it could be really interesting. We got a She-Hulk show, Moon Knight, which Rob is really excited about. The Miss Marvel show could be really interesting depending on what they do with that. They are definitely expanding the universe, but I'm not going to get too hyped just yet till I see how it starts to play out. Then we'll decide how hyped to get, but for right now, I am very excited about it, I gotta say. All right, Jason Espinoza writes, saw you finally watch The World According to Jeff Goldblum. I did. Did you sit down and watch with your ice cream, or did you get a bowl after? As a matter of fact, I have not watched the episode on ice cream yet. I've watched the first episode on sneakers, which I thought was fascinating. And I ate up that show, man. I ate up that first episode. I loved it, and Jeff Goldblum's the perfect guy to do it. And I ate it up so much, I jumped on social media and said, The World According to Jeff Goldblum is my new obsession. So I haven't had time to watch the second episode, which is about ice cream, which is my obsession, is ice cream. Some people have a lot of vices. Some people drink beer. Some people have alcohol. Some people do whatever. Everybody's got their vices. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I don't do any of that stuff. But man, my vice is ice cream. I have a massive, massive vice for ice cream, so I'm very, very excited about this next episode. Lord of Thunder, Prince of Stars writes, should X actor play Y role? I think it'd be great. Very fun. I think, again, it's funny. Not funny, but what is great is I really don't get a lot of those questions anymore, which is great because I feel like everybody's figured out. They say, yeah, John doesn't care. John, do you think that Brad Pitt should play so-and-so? It's like, I don't do... Should X actor play X role, X actor play Y role, as long as it's a talented actor. There you go. But I'm surprised I don't get asked as much anymore, which is actually kind of good. Fine Wen writes, sorry, I meant to say audio. Well, we couldn't cover your question, Fi, so no problem. Ben Sultan writes, what was your reaction to Brown versus Steelers? Okay. Here's the thing. And, Rob and I were talking about this, and I just want to bring this up quickly here. Rob and I talked about this, and here's the thing. I believe it was Garrett that clunked. For those of you who don't know what happened, there was a scuffle that went on, and a Cleveland Brown defender tore the helmet off the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Roethlisberger's backup, I think it's Donaldson or something like that. I can't remember his name right now. And he overhead swung the helmet and hit the kid in the head with the helmet. You don't do that. Not surprisingly, the dude was indefinitely suspended. So they didn't announce what the length of the suspension was. He has been indefinitely suspended by the NFL. Even his own team said in the post-game interviews, there was no excuse. There was no excuse for that. They didn't make excuse. They said there's no excuse for him doing that. Here's the thing. I don't follow the Cleveland Browns closely, but I looked into it a bit. The dude who did it is not a dirty player. I'm willing to write it off to, it's just, you guys know it, right? Like, you get caught up in the moment of something and you just, I'm like, whoa, what did I just do? Whoa, why did I do that? Like, I'm willing to give the guy the benefit of the doubt that it was probably one of those moments. And I bet he regretted it the moment he did it and realized, what the hell did I just do? Because he doesn't have a history in the game of doing things like that. Like, if he had a history, that's different, but he had no history of that. But while I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on that, you still did it. And I think the NFL took the appropriate action, indefinite suspension. I think it's just going to be for the rest of the season. So I think he's going to miss the entire. I don't think you're going to see him back in Jersey for the rest of the year. I think he's out for the entire rest of the season. Then I think he'll be reinstated before the beginning of next season. But this is going to hit him hard in the pocketbook, and they have to make a firm example. I believe him that he regrets doing it and he didn't really realize that he was doing it. It was a heat of the moment thing. I believe him. But that doesn't change that you did it. And you got to be held responsible for your actions. And because I think if he had a history of this, he shouldn't just be suspended for the rest of the year. He should be kicked out of the NFL. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that it was a heat of the moment thing. He totally regrets doing it. He probably didn't even realize what he was doing as he's acting in the heat of the moment. But you still did it, and you need to be held accountable. And so he's going to be held accountable, and I think a suspension for the rest of the year is appropriate. He might even get 1 or 2 games for next year, too, so we'll have to see. Anyway, pardon me. Garrett Couch writes, I'm a Falcons fan. Sorry about this year, buddy. Not been their finest year so far. We're basically the football version of the Red Sox pre-2003. Even we can hold our heads up higher than the Browns this weekend. Dirty Bird. Yeah, again, really unfortunate. And by the way, the Falcons just had a pretty good win. I mean, obviously, this is already a season you guys wish you could forget. I get it. But you just recently had a pretty decent little win. And you've had a pretty good couple of years. So hang in tight there. But yeah, it's really unfortunate. You know, the Browns in recent weeks look like they've been turning things around. And they've won a few games in a row, and then something like this happens. It's really, really unfortunate. Anyway, Call of Duty God says in a really big super chat, thank you for that, Call of Duty. I appreciate that. He writes, hey, John, just saw Jojo Rabbit. Nice. Almost walked out after 10 minutes. Why? I thought the first 10 minutes were great, but stuck it out and absolutely love it. And what a movie. It had heart, comedy, and what humanity should always be. And the acting was on another level. Listen, I'll tell you, I said this before, but, you know, when you look at things like whether it's What We Do in the Shadows, Thor Ragnarok, Wilder People, things like that, Taika Waititi, we all know he's good. We all know Taika Waititi's good. I didn't realize, and this is the first thing I said when I walked out of Jojo Rabbit, I didn't realize he was this good. Because you're right. You take this ridiculous scenario. A kid living in World War II Germany, who probably like a lot of Germans at the time were buying into the rubble that was going on. And so his imaginary friend was Adolf Hitler. And he acted like an Adolf Hitler who was the imaginary friend of a young boy would probably come across. And somehow find a way to make it not only hilarious, but powerful and emotional. You're laughing 1 minute and then all of a sudden you feel like as an audience member, you want to burst into tears. And the performances were incredible. And I absolutely loved Sam Rockwell in this thing. I thought Sam Rockwell was amazing. Rebel Wilson was, I'm not the biggest Rebel Wilson fan in the world, I admit, but she was great in this. Obviously, Scarlett Johansson, the kids were wonderful. Just, oh, God. And that's why, as of right now, may not be by the end of the year, but as of right now, Jojo Rabbit is still my number 1 film of the year. Thanks for sending that in, Call of Duty. All right, Stubble McShave writes, could McClunky, I'm already over the whole McClunky thing, I really am, be an homage to The Godfather and Michael shooting police captain Mikulski on the restaurant? Well, I doubt it. I mean, look, obviously there's ties between that and Francis Ford Coppola. And I mean, it seems like a stretch. I mean, full kudos for the imagination there, but I think that might be a bit of a stretch. I mean, now watch, we find out in 5 years in somebody's book that is the connection, but I'm going to say I doubt it. But you never know. It could be possible. Snake Jerusalem writes, this could be the first year in which all top 10 highest grossing films cross $1 billion. Besides The Rise of Skywalker and Frozen 2, which other film do you think can cross $1 billion other than the ones that have already? I mean, Jumanji's got a shot. The last one came just a hair shy of $1 billion. So you got to consider that a possibility. And the newest trailers for the new Jumanji look great. I mean, I got a feeling it might make a little bit less than the last one, but it could definitely be one of the next billion-dollar films. So I'd say that has out of any of the remaining films, besides obviously Frozen and Star Wars, that's got the biggest chance. I think that one's got the biggest chance. All right. So Sophisticated writes, hey, John, have you heard that Star Wars fans have found that Sebulba says Ma Clun Ki, apparently it's Hatiz, to Anakin in the Phantom Menace, and the subtitles read, this will be the end of you, love the show. That's interesting. No, I haven't heard about that. And does he actually say Ma Clun Ki? I don't know, but again, I'm already over the whole McClunky thing. It got old real fast. But that would be, if that is true, that's an interesting find, if that's true. Angel Palma writes, if I take off what I'm watching on Disney Plus and later play it again, it starts from the beginning and not where I left off, like in Netflix. Is it just me? I had the opposite experience, actually. Because I watched Mandalorian episode 2. And then stopped it just as the trailer, the credits started. Turned it off, whatever. Came back later in the day because I decided I want to watch that episode again. And when I hit play, it started at the beginning of the credits. So I have had a different experience. Maybe there's something in the settings or something. I mean, I don't know. I haven't investigated, but maybe there's something in the settings or something along those lines. All I know is that I've done it the once, and it did pick up where I left off. Maybe that's normal. Maybe that's not normal. It's an interesting question. If you guys have had an experience, help Angel out there. Jump into the comment section and help Angel out there. Tell them what your experience has been with that. Because mine is that it did pick up. But who knows? It could be different for different people, or maybe there's some weird something in the settings. All right. Chris Warden writes, ever heard of the Cybertronic Spree? No. It's a cover band that cosplays as Generation 1 Transformers and travels around to different cons doing songs from the movie. No, I have not heard of it, but that sounds awesome. I've never heard of it myself, but that does sound great. All right. Jeremine Shibasu writes, Megamind is such an underrated film. Great laughs, cool action, and a heartfelt story. I did not love that movie. Megamind. It's for those you don't know, it's an animated film voiced by Will Ferrell as the main character. And it's kind of that, the movie's about the villain, and the villain is Megamind, right? And but he's only the villain in the same sense that Gru was the villain in Despicable Me, at any rate. I gotta say, it's been a long time since I've seen it. I didn't love it myself. I don't know a lot of people that did. But that's the great thing about movies. Man, they all hit us in different ways. And listen, I got some really strange movies that really mean a lot to me, that hit me really well, that most people don't think are very good. But we all have those, right? And if Megamind is one of those for you, good on you for that. All right, Jeremy, I should say. I said Jeremy before. Jeremy also writes, thanks. Thanks for it all, John. I've been depressed lately, but about education in my future, but yourself, your crew, and the audience always make me smile. And isn't that one of the great things about movies, Jeremy? Both watching them and talking about them is that, and I've said this before, but it is truly one of the great things about the art, is that I can get immersed into a movie or conversations about movies. My mind takes a total break from whatever my problems are at the moment. And then when I'm done watching the movie or done having my conversations about movies, my problems are still there. Like, movies don't fix my problems, but what I find is my mind isn't beaten down now. I find that I can come back now and face whatever difficulties I'm having with a fresh perspective, a rested and fresh mind. And I just find I'm able to deal with what's going on around. Movies don't fix our problems, but they can do a lot to give us that mental break, give us a different perspective, refresh our minds, let us come to it with a new perspective. And I find that that's what it does for me. And if the movie fan community can be that for you as well, Jeremy, that's awesome. So thank you for sharing that, my friend. I appreciate that. All right. The Kosan writes, John, I'm worried the Leafs are only getting worse. Now, listen, it's still early. They've still won more games than they lost. Overtime losses are still ties in my mind. So, I mean, last I checked, I think they're 9-8. So Not the start I thought they were going to have, but it's still early. They're still only a little more than a quarter of the way into the season. I'm not worrying yet. I'm not worrying. They're still in a pretty decent position, so I'm not going to... By the way, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're only like 5 points out of first place at this point, so I'm not pushing the panic button just yet. Also writes, Bruins or Caps tonight. I'm going to go Bruins on that one. Ryan Lohner writes, from Bob Iger's masterclass, Black Panther and Captain Marvel were among the very first films they considered after buying Marvel. They just had to build enough success to overcome the skeptics first. That sounds like something that would come out of the mind of Bob Iger. And he's right. And it worked. Because both Black Panther and Captain Marvel became billion-dollar films. So it's hard. I got it. You know what? I've never signed up. There was 2 master classes I was thinking about taking before. One was screenwriting with, I'm looking at his face and I'm freezing on his name again, Aaron Sorkin. And one was because I'm a big poker guy, with Danny Negreanu. So they both do classes for masterclass. But the one that they've got now with Bob Iger doing it, I just only heard about that. So I definitely got to try that one. Julius Goodwin writes, who do you think the main foe will be in Doctor Strange 2? Don't care. Most people seem to be leaning towards Nightmare, which is very possible. That's a strong contender. Even though there's been no talk about it, I still think it's going to be Mordo. I still think we're going to see Chiwetel Ejiofor back, and they'll do that. But again, there have been no signs from that. I have no insider information. That's just me as a fan speculating at this point. Julius Goodwin writes, the funniest thing about mental illness is that people expect you to act like you don't have one. Rarely have I heard a more powerful line than that one in Joker. I've heard more powerful lines, but that is a great line. It's probably one of the more, if maybe not the most memorable line in the movie. And it's a powerful moment. It's a powerful statement. And one of the reasons why I just adore that movie, it is my favorite comic book movie of the year. Yes, even over Endgame. I think it's the best comic book movie of the year. I do. It's right now it's tied for number 5 with Booksmart on my top 5 movies of the year list. But it's just a special movie, man. And that is a great, powerful line for sure. All right, Ben Rayner writes, I never knew I needed a Goldblum show about shoes and ice cream. I never knew either. But man, I'm telling you, when I was at D23 and I had heard about World According to Jeff Goldblum, I thought, well, this sounds like a stupid shtick kind of show. And then they showed this big 10-minute preview of it. I'm like, I'm in. I got to see this. And I watched the first episode, love it, ate it up, and I cannot wait to watch the rest of the season. Man Mountain Gherkin writes, favorite last-minute saves out of Han in New Hope, Gandalf at Helm's Deep, or Thor in Wakanda. Do you have other examples? I pick Helm's Deep. I would have to think about other examples, which I don't have time to do right now. But the thing about the Han one is great, but it's just one moment. He like kind of sneaks in and hits somebody in the back. You know, that's what he does. He just kind of hits in and shoots Vader from behind. All right, Kano, blow this thing. Let's go home. Okay, so that's great, but it was just a moment, right? It didn't turn the tide. It was just a one quick, basically, it was a cheap shot. Snuck up behind and hit the dude from the back. It was a cheap shot. Let's call it what it is. Of course, I love it because it's Star Wars, but let's call that what it is. The Helm's Deep one and the Thor showing Wakanda, these were tide turners, right? And I'm going to go Gandalf at Helm's Deep. I just think, the Thor showing up in Wakanda, amazing, but I'm going to go with Helm's Deep. All right, Benny95 writes, Ford v Ferrari is amazing. I loved it. It's my number 4 favorite film of the year right now. Tied with Joker for my favorite film so far. At first, wasn't sure on Christian Bale's accent / character, but won me over. Great acting, fantastic acting in it. It was the dynamic to me that really hooked me in. Besides the fact that I'm a sucker for these based on true event movies, Matt Damon and Christian Bale kill it. And they have a terrific on-screen chemistry. That's one of the things that I liked most about the movie, actually, was this absolutely dynamic, fantastic on-screen chemistry that I just absolutely ate up. Absolutely ate it up. And I love, that's why it's my number 4 best film of the year right now. All right, Benny also writes, The Rohirrim coming to Gondor's aid is so epic and emotional. I remember seeing Return of the King in cinemas with my dad. I was 8 years old, but remember it vividly. From then on, they're my favorite films of all time. True masterclass in every way. Family and I may or may not know 95% of the lines off by heart. Listen, I have to this day, first of all, I love all the Lord of the Rings movies. All 3 films nominated for Best Picture. I believe there are only 2 trilogies in history. I could be wrong, but off the top of my head, I believe there are only 2 trilogies in history where all 3 films were at least nominated for Best Picture. One is The Godfather, where 1 and 2 actually won Best Picture. 1 won Best Picture, 2 won Best Picture, 3 was nominated. And the Lord of the Rings films. Fellowship of the Ring was nominated for Best Picture. Two Towers was nominated for Best Picture. Return of the King won 11 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. I have said for many years that I believe it is not my all-time favorite film, but I believe there has never been a single greater overall accomplishment in the art of filmmaking than Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. When you look at all the disciplines being brought into one package, there are better movies in the grand scale of the greatest movies of all time. But as an overall package, there's never been a greater accomplishment where it had the best writing, won best writing, best visual effects, won best visual effects, best cinematography, the best direction, the best, it brought all of those arts into one perfect package. And to this day, no film in history, mark this, no movie in history has ever won more Academy Awards than Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. The record is 11. No film has ever won 12. So it just never underestimate that. And it is just a wildly awesome set of films, man, including that last one especially. And that is a great moment, by the way. All right. Where are we at here? Okay. We are now at K Major, who writes, John, San Diego Comic-Con tickets sold out in an hour. Yes, they did. WTF, I've never seen anything like it. Just stuck in New York. Going to try again, whatever it takes. Listen, I'll say it. I've said it for years. I will say it again. I love San Diego. I love that town. Not only do I love going there for Comic-Con, Ann and I, like twice a year, we'll just get an Airbnb in San Diego and just go and spend a weekend in San Diego. Like twice a year, because it's only about a 3-hour drive. And less. It's like maybe like an hour and a half drive for us. It's under 2 hours for us to get to San Diego from here. Love that town. But Comic-Con should move out of it. San Diego can simply not facilitate Comic-Con properly. When you have to have a lottery to see who gets to have hotel rooms, that cities does not have the infrastructure to properly accommodate Comic-Con. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. Their convention center is simply not big enough to properly accommodate Comic-Con. If you've tried walking around the floor in Comic-Con, you know what I'm talking about. The convention center is just too small. Like Vegas, for example, literally, Vegas's convention center is literally triple the size of the San Diego Convention Center. I mean, it's just not big enough. It does not have the public transportation infrastructure. It does not have the hotel infrastructure. It just doesn't have the infrastructure, period, to properly accommodate it, which is why we have so many nightmares every year going to Comic-Con. Now, I still love it. And now they got a limit on how many tickets they can sell. If it were in some place like Vegas, you could sell a hell of a lot more tickets. You'd never have to go enter a lottery to get a hotel room. You'd have easy transportation all the time. Anyway, it just reminds me that while I love San Diego, love it, they really should move Comic-Con out of there. And this is just another example of why. Anyway, Trev8 writes, it took a while to get here, but Parasite came to my local theater this weekend. Cannot wait to see it. It currently sits as my number 2 favorite movie of the year. Parasite is remarkable. You've heard me say this. Imagine Dirty Rotten Scoundrels directed by Quentin Tarantino. It is that nutty. And I love this movie. It is my number 2 favorite film of the year right now. I hope you get to see it soon, man. Benny95 writes, pick one, lose one. Raimi's Spider-Man theme or the Dark Knight theme. I'm going to say something controversial. Dark Knight's the better movie. but I'm going to take the Raimi Spider-Man theme. I know this is going to be controversial, but that's the one I would take. All right, Trev 8 writes, The King's Man I heard about this. The King's Man was delayed to September of 2020. They moved it like 7 months. That's disappointing to hear. It also means that the first trailer was released 14 months before the film. Yep, it'll be over a year by the time this movie comes out. I hope that's not an indicator of anything wrong with the film. Now, we see movies get nudged, like, oh, it moved 6 weeks, it moved 4 weeks. That's not a big deal. When it moves 7 months, that might be a big deal. It might not. So I really don't know much about the scenario. I just barely heard that had happened. But yeah, for people who are looking forward to that movie, getting bumped 7 months is discouraging. It is. I totally get it. So it's going to be interesting to find out why they made that move. All right. Brennan Millspaw writes, does networks renewing shows early even matter? It just seems like they'd cancel it if interest wasn't there anyway. To me, it kind of shows confidence in a meaningless way. By the way, just watch Fallen Order. Here's the thing. It does have meaning. And here's why. When you're a network and you put in an order for another season of a show, you are automatically committed to X number of dollars. There is a financial commitment that can't be backed out of at that point. Now, that's not to say that, the situation you're probably talking about here is the fact that Netflix just re-upped and ordered season 2 of The Witcher even before The Witcher started airing. And by the way, they did the same thing. Disney Plus did that with Mandalorian. They're already shooting season 2 of The Mandalorian. So they ordered season 2 long before the show even started, and now they're already shooting season 2. Anyway, yes, Disney Plus, Netflix could pull the plug right now on season 2 of Mandalorian or on season 2 of The Witcher. They could. If they start playing The Witcher and they're seeing the audiences are hating it, and nobody's watching it, and all that kind of stuff, which is unlikely but possible. Yes, they could theoretically pull the plug. However, by putting in that order, that means they've signed contracts with those people who are producing these shows. That means there's a financial commitment. Now, it doesn't mean you have to pay for everything for all the production of a season, but you've got to have confidence because you're putting up money. It's not just lip service. There's actually a financial commitment to a degree. Not the full expense of a show, but a certain degree of a financial commitment. And for you to sign those contracts and put in that order and make it official, you are putting X number of dollars on the table that you don't get back. That you don't get back if you pull the plug. So you've got to have some degree of confidence that this is absolutely going to work because I'm willing to put my money up right now. It's not just lip service. There's actually money changing hands. So it's not just mean, believe me, Brennan, it's not just mean. I mean, again, it could mean they might pull the plug on it later, but they're going to be out X number of dollars if they do. And so by putting those dollars on the table, they're not just talking support. They're literally putting their money where their mouth is. So it's not meaningless. Studios don't like throwing money away if they don't have to. So to me, it actually really, really does mean something. It doesn't make it a guaranteed 100% lock, but it means something. It absolutely does. Julius Goodwin writes, just curious if you've seen the Dark Crystal Netflix show. Any thoughts? Oh, I talked about it a lot. Yes, I've seen it. I loved it. I adored it. Also, by the way, Netflix has a documentary about the making of the new series of Dark Crystal. That is also completely fascinating and wonderful. But yeah, I love the new series. Absolutely loved it. Like I said, though, I've already talked about it very, very much on the show, and I thought it was fantastic. Julius Goodwin writes, it's funny that even when DC wins, they lose. Joker is a smash hit, but they have to share the money because they lacked faith and co-financed it. Okay, but Julius, listen, here's the thing. When stuff like this happens, everybody becomes a massive world-class liar and pretends like everybody knew. Listen, they're short memories. I remember, because I was at Comic-Con last year, not this recent year, last year, all right, when they announced that they're making this Joker movie, right? That's not part of the DCU, blah, blah, not the Jared Leto Joker, all that kind of stuff. And everybody today pretends, everybody lies. Everybody today pretends, oh, I always knew it was a fabulous idea. Shut up. I remember what happened. Because I got on Twitter and I got on my shows and I said, this is fabulous. Let's get some shows that aren't part of a shared cinematic universe. Let's get some true standalone movies. This is awesome. And I remember the responses that the movie got and that I got when I said that. What's the point? What's the point? If it's not tied into the shared cinematic universe, what's the point? And everybody poo-pooed on it. Everybody poo-pooed on it. Not everybody, but you know what I'm saying. Extensively. So yeah, Warner Brothers. Now in hindsight, everybody plays expert in hindsight. In hindsight, does Warner Brothers wish they had just financed themselves? Sure. But Warner Brothers never in their wildest dreams, did they think Joker was going to be $1 billion film or a $700 million film for that sake, or a $600 million film for that sake. They were just hoping it could break even and make a little bit of money. And so, understanding that, they did the wise thing at the time. They mitigated their financial risks by entering into some co-financing deals with other bodies that put up money for the film. So if the movie lost money, which everybody at the time thought was a possibility, everybody likes to pretend now and all lie. Oh no, I always knew it. Shut up. I remember. The internet remembers. Everybody remembers. But Warner Brothers knew it was a possibility that this thing could lose the money. It was a gamble. It was a risk. It was one I loved that they were taking, but it was a risk nonetheless. And so they did a very wise thing. They mitigated their financial risk. They limited their financial exposure and split the expense of the movie up with some other companies so that if the movie made money, great, everybody wins. And if the movie loses money, we all only take a little bit of a hit instead of one company taking a big hit. So Warner Brothers, in their wildest dreams, never thought this movie would cross the $800 million mark. Nobody did. Nobody thought it was going to make $900 million. Nobody did. Everybody lies now and says they knew, but no, they didn't. Especially, 6 months before the movie came out. And certainly nobody thought it was going to make $1 billion. Other than the Fruit Loops who say every movie that's coming out is going to make $1 billion. And then they're wrong 95% of the time. And then the 5% of the time that they're right, they go, see, I said it would. Anyway. By the way, and I'm with Warner Brothers. I never thought it would get, I've been excited about Joker, and I thought it's great. I think it's the 5th best movie of the year, tied for 5th best movie of the year right now. I think it's the best comic book movie of the year. I think it's great. And I never thought R-rated, no China screening, blah, blah, blah. It was every reason in the world not to believe this thing would get to $1 billion. And here we are. But to take aim, and I know you're not saying this yourself, Julius, but there's a lot of people taking aim at Warner Brothers going, oh, why didn't you believe in it? Well, look, clearly they believed in it because they put their money up and they got the movie made. So they believed in it, but they also knew there was a chance it could fail, that it could fail. So they did a very smart thing. They mitigated their losses. Now, it made $1 billion, so they make a lot of money and their partners make a lot of money and everybody's happy. But we can't play, Monday morning quarterback, and go, oh, well, they should have known. Nobody knew that Joker was going to make this much money. Nobody. Todd Phillips didn't think it. Joaquin Phoenix didn't think it. Warner Brothers didn't think it. Nobody did. So they hedged their bets. And they're still making money. So I wouldn't say even when they win, they lose. No, they did not lose. They're making a lot of money. It may not be as much money as it would have been if they had just financed the whole movie themselves. Sure, but they're still making money. They put up this amount of money and they're getting this amount of money. So it's a win. Believe you me, Julius, there is no way to paint this for Warner Brothers as anything but a giant, giant win. It is an absolute, unmitigated, undisputed, fantastic win for them. As big as it could have been? No, but massively a win regardless. So keep that in mind, my friend. Keep that in mind. All right. Ryan Lohner writes, just saw another movie for the brilliant, but I can never watch it again pile. Sophie's Choice. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. Sophie's Choice. Look, it's an iconic movie, of course. The one that really made, I mean, Meryl Streep was already well established, but it's that's the movie that made Meryl Streep the street monster. That's when everybody started recognizing, oh my God, she's one of the best in the business. You're absolutely right. It's been a long time since I've watched that again because it's difficult. Great pick, Ryan. Excellent pick. I like that pick a lot. And for those of you who know what Ryan's talking about, I have certain films that I think are wonderful, but because of the nature of the film, even though I think the film's amazing, I can't watch it again. Schindler's List is one of those movies for me. It's brilliant, but I can't watch it again. The recent film Detroit, I think is brilliant, but it's so disturbing that I just can't watch it again. Sophie's Choice is another good one. That's a good addition to that list. All right, where are we at here? The Tatermeister writes, hey, John. Wow, Sonic's new design for the film is amazing. Are you a fan of it? No, it looks fucking ridiculous. Does this make you want to see it, or are you still against them doing it? No, look, I've said it before. I will say it again. It looks fucking ridiculous. It was going to look fucking ridiculous no matter what they did. It looked fucking ridiculous before. It looks fucking ridiculous now. It looks stupid as all shit. Just like Garfield. Remember the Garfield movies? They made Garfield look perfect to the way he was in the thing. But to take that creature and try to make it into a live action environment, he looked fucking ridiculous. Garfield looked stupid as hell. It looked fucking ridiculous in a live action environment. And that's what I said all along. Now, I think the new design is an improvement over the previous design, but it's not going to make the movie one iota better. It's not going to make the movie one iota worse either, but the movie is still the movie. It's going to still be the same story, the same dialogue, the same voice acting. Everything else is exactly the same. And making a bit of an improvement, and I only think it's a bit of an improvement, but it's an improvement, isn't going to change this from a bad movie to a good movie. Now, for all we know, this Sonic movie might be the best movie of the year. For all we know, it could be the best movie of the year. We don't know until we see it. It looks awful, but I've seen other movies that I thought looked awful and then ended up really, really loving them, and Sonic could be the next one of the bunch. But if it's good, it ain't going to be because they did a change in the design of the character. Even though it's an improvement, that won't change a thing. So there it is. All right, Sam Phillip writes, hey, John, does Frozen 2 actually have major spoilers like a lot of people are saying? Also, keep up all your great work. You're the best. There are some significant spoilers from Frozen 2. Yeah. Not like, Sixth Sense level spoilers, but there are probably a couple of key surprise narrative things in it that would be, let's put it this way. I don't think it would ruin the movie for you if you knew them, but some people might be sensitive to them. So I'd say there's also, that. I can't get over how good I thought the movie was. I thought it was really damn good. Anyway, so there's that. Superman Steve writes, Australia gets Disney Plus on Tuesday. I'm so pumped. I'm so glad you guys don't have to wait terribly because there are some countries that got to wait till May or even later. It's crazy. I'm glad you guys are getting it that soon, man. Connor McEwen writes, seen The Mandalorian. I'm not waiting till 2020. Clearly, yeah. Listen, I don't blame you. I am 100% against piracy. I'd never encourage it nor endorse it. But when you have a situation like Disney Plus and Mandalorian, where you have global Star Wars fans, and there are fans all over the world who are willing to pay for this content. Just tell me how you want me to pay you so I can pay you and watch it. And they have no option to legitimately watch it. All I'm saying is no judgment from me about those who choose to pirate it. I'm not endorsing it. I'm not saying it's okay. All I'm saying is no judgment from me when you have worldwide fans saying, I'm willing to pay for this show, and you give them no legitimate ways of doing it. No judgment from me, my friend. No judgment from me. All right, Matthew Garrett writes, what happened with Stream TV in your old studio? We had a certain term that we were going to try it out for. There was X number of months that we were going to try it out for. And by the end of that term, I just decided it was just time for me to come back here. I still have a great relationship with the people at the stream. I still think they're terrific people. I was just actually emailing with some of the people over there. And by the way, I may very well do things with them again in the future. But it's just, I felt like I didn't like driving 45 minutes, a half hour to 45 minutes every day to go and do my show, plus my studio. Like, my studio now is in my home. I can jump up into my studio and do something anytime. It just was the best move for me. It was the best move for me. Now, we accomplished some very cool things over there when I was there. But I have... Yeah, me leaving was simply just, this is what's best for me right now. I still love that company, and I love the people involved there, and do not be surprised if you see me doing some stuff with them again in the future. I'm not saying we have anything on the books right now, but don't be surprised if you see me doing something with them again in the future. All right. Suthius writes, are you a cheesecake guy, regular or New York style? I do like some cheesecake, and that's why Ann and I go to Cheesecake Factory once in a while. I dig the New York style. I like it all. But I do not like... I'm not a cherries or strawberry. I don't like berries. I know that's weird. So I just like cheesecake, some chocolate sauce on it, a little bit of whipped cream. I'm good to go. Keep all the accoutrement, keep all the cherry sauce. Don't want any of that. Just give me the damn cheesecake. Cheesecake Factory, by the way, has this thing called the red velvet cheesecake. Oh, my mouth's watering so hard right now. Where are we at here? Suthius writes, what about Chris Evans as... I'm just kidding. There you go. Ex-actor, Y-roll. Triple J's Thoughts writes... Hey, John. First time super chat and lover of the show. Thank you so much, Triple J. Haha, lied. I'm one of your regulars using my new handle for my film and concert review channel. There you go. Thank you for the inspiration as I'm saying my opinions on films. Let's say I put a car in gear, not park. Happy steering. Well, first of all, listen, that's great. I have always encouraged, and I continue to encourage, and I want more people, not everybody, but more people in the film fan community to get involved. Add your voices to the conversation. Create a podcast, write a blog, do a YouTube channel. It doesn't matter if 5 people watch or if 50 people watch or if 500 people watch. Doesn't matter. What matters is getting involved, adding your voice to the conversation. And that's why I constantly do things to try to help people do it. I keep pointing people towards that 2-hour video I did a number of years ago called Getting Started in Podcasting, YouTubing, and Blogging. And if you want to find it, just search on YouTube, John Campea Getting Started. And it'll be the first video that comes up. It's about 2 hours long. And good on you for getting involved and for not keeping your car in park. Put it in gear, because as I always say, you cannot steer a parked car. You got to get the car moving. Then you can start steering it. I'm glad you got the thing moving, man. All right, best of luck. All right, where are we at here? Tasty Waffle writes. I like that name, Tasty Waffle. When adapting a book, I believe the priorities should be in order. Number 1, make a good movie / show. And 2, be true to the spirit of the book. Well, I mean, yeah, and those are the priority list. I've always said, and I continue to say, and it's 100% true, the number 1 job of a director, producer, filmmakers, TV show makers is not to be, if you're making a movie based on a book, the number 1 job is don't stay true to the book. The number 1 job is make the best movie possible. The book was written as a bunch of typeface. It wasn't written as a visual medium. It was written as a bunch of typeface. Certain things work in typeface that don't work on the screen. Certain things work on the screen that don't work in typeface. They are different mediums. So, and by the way, a book can be like 600 pages long. A screenplay is going to be about 100 to 115 pages long. You need to have adaptation. You need to transfer it in such a way, and you're going to have to change things. You're going to have to adapt things. And so I've always said the number 1 job of a filmmaker is to make the best movie possible, and that will mean making changes. But I also believe in staying true to the spirit of what the book is. You know? It doesn't mean you have to have all the same scenes. It doesn't mean you have to have all the same dialogue. It doesn't mean you have to have all the same characters, but stay true to the spirit of what the book is. And if you can do those 2 things, then I think you're off to it. So I'm completely in agreement with you there, Tasty Waffle. All right, Tom Weinberg writes, just got out of seeing Ford v Ferrari. Nice. Loved it. Kept thinking, though. This guy played Batman. Bale is such a versatile actor. He's one of the most versatile actors we've got in the business. Rest of the cast was awesome, too. One of my favorite pictures of the year. And listen, I'm not saying this is what's going to happen, but there is a chance right now that both Christian Bale and Matt Damon from the same movie could be nominated for Best Actor at the Academy Awards. They've already announced that they are putting them both in the running for the Best Lead Actor category. So while it may not be likely, there is a possibility we could see two lead actors from the same movie both being nominated for Best Lead Actor at the Academy Awards this year. Whether that'll happen or not, I'm not sure, but that is a possibility that could happen. We'll just have to keep our eyes on it. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Tom, because I love that movie. Like I said, right now it's my number 4 favorite movie of the year. All right. Christopher Chow writes, Disney announced today that they will offer the 4:3 aspect ratio option for Simpsons on Disney Plus in 2020. Really? I didn't think they would do that. I mean, good on them, because there are not a lot of people, but there are some people out there that would like to have that. And Disney heard, and apparently they've responded. I also didn't think they would do that. I really didn't. So that's great that they're doing that. I think that's wonderful. That if you can do that, why not? So sure, fantastic. John McKinley writes, is being blinded by nostalgia a straw man argument? Yes or no sometimes? Here's the problem with that argument, is that being blinded by nostalgia is, again, making up an excuse for why somebody else feels differently than you. Because 99.9999999% of the times that you're being blinded by nostalgia, that doesn't come from the person who liked the film. That's coming from somebody accusing somebody for liking something. It's not a straw man argument, it's a lie. And it's one of the things that film fans do that is really irritating. And let's admit it, we've all done it at some point. We've all done it. And it is one of the most stupid and annoying things that we do, which is we make excuses for why other people like or don't like something that we like or don't like. If I like something they don't, I make an excuse why that person doesn't like it. If I don't like something and they do, I make up an excuse for why they say they like it. It is one of the most idiotic, brain-dead, weak things that we as film fans do. If there's a movie I love and somebody says they didn't like it, you've seen it. Movie one person loves, but person B says they don't like it. Person A, what do they say? Well, you just didn't understand it. Or you just don't like it because of this. Or you just don't like it because of that. They make up excuses for why, because their tiny brains, and again, we've all done this, our tiny, tiny, mentally weak, fragile little brains can't handle that. Somebody doesn't like something I like? That invalidates me. I better invalidate that person so I can feel good about myself again. That's how stupid we are. But that's what it is to make up an excuse for why somebody has a different opinion than you. Instead of just going, oh, really? You didn't like that thing? Man, that's too bad, man. I personally really loved it. But hey, all film's subjective. You watched and you didn't like it. It's all good. No, what do? Well, then you just didn't like it. Or you're biased. You just don't like butterflies. I don't know why I said butterflies. You just don't like butterflies. Somebody likes something you did. Well, you're just blinded by the nostalgia of it. No. Maybe they just watched the same movie you did and they happened to like it because it worked for them and it didn't work for you. But we see it all the time, and it is one of the most idiotic, brain-dead, weak, wimpy little bitch-like things that we do. And we've all been guilty of it at one point or another. We just got to catch ourselves doing it and stop doing it, because it is one of the most frustratingly irritating and weak things that we as film fans do sometimes. Anyway, let's see here. James L.H. writes, Sorry, James wrote in a bunch. Okay. James L.H. writes, hey, John, due to some health and finance issues, while been a while since there's no obligation to send in super chats, James. Don't never apologize for that, brother. But watch and listen every day and continue to be a Patreon. Always interesting questions asked. We have a fantastic film fan community that always asks really cool, fun questions. Sometimes not so much, but even those are fun to answer. And then he writes, about your walks, how long does it take? Since my heart attack in the summer slowly built up to 3 miles, trying more, but UK weather is difficult. Ooh, I can imagine. And listen, right now I live in California, where it's always, except for when it's too hot, it's usually always okay to go walking, especially later in the evening. My walks, it depends on, I try to make sure I get in 5 miles a day, right? So, and that is in steps, that's roughly about 10,000 steps. So it all depends where am I at in my day, because I try to do about 2.5 to 3 miles at the gym when Ann and I go first thing in the mornings. I put in 2.5 to 3 miles there. So it leaves a couple, maybe 2 to 2.5 more miles I need to get in. I'll get in maybe about a mile just running around the house during the day. And then so sometimes I'll have a mile I need to do. Sometimes I'll have a mile and a half. Sometimes I'll have 2 to 2.5 miles still to do later in the evening. So I just go out and walk however long I need to walk. And make sure I get my 5 miles in a day. That's all it is. Make sure I get my 5 miles in. Now, what I normally do for my walks and talks, and I haven't had one in a while. You know why? Because the damn time zone changed. They did the daylight saving time thing. Anyway, the times changed. So what happened before was the time of day that I like to go for my walk, there was still light outside. And I'd walk and I'd do my walk and talks. Now, the time of day that I like to go for my walks, it's dark. And it's very difficult to shoot in the dark right? So I got to figure something out. Anyway. And hey, listen, dude, remember, I had 2 heart attacks. And there is the other side of the wall. You'll get there. There is the other side of the wall. I had 2 heart attacks on the same day. Some of you may not have heard about this, but this was years ago. I was in my Muay Thai class with UFC fighter James Sandman Irvin. That's literally where I was. And I had just finished my class with him. And I was just waiting for a few minutes. I was sitting down. I was relaxing. I was sitting down on a bench relaxing. My wife Ann is in a jiu-jitsu class. So I'm just waiting for her to wrap up. And we were at the UFC facility. And I got this sharp pain in my shoulder. I won't go into the whole story again, but I got this super sharp pain in my shoulder. And wasn't sure what it was. Blah, blah, blah. Long story short, I ended up in the hospital. And they said, you had 2 heart attacks. What? I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I was working out, I was young and but yeah, it was a fluke thing. But anyway, but I'll tell you one of the things that really did affect me for the first couple of years was even though my cardiologist had told me, John, you're good. Start exercising, start doing all this kind of stuff. I was still scared. I was scared for a while. I really was. Whenever I would start to get shortness of breath, I would panic. Like, is it happening again? Oh my God. And I was too scared for a while to get into the gym and to exert myself or whatever, get any real heavy physical activity. It was scary for a while for me. But eventually I got there, right? Eventually I got there. And you will too. And so, hey man, you and I have been in the same place. Best of luck to you, man. Just take care of yourself and good on you for looking to make sure you get that. I highly recommend, you know what I eventually did? I have a treadmill. I have a treadmill desk. So I got my laptop and a second monitor all on a treadmill desk. So if it's terrible weather, I just hop on it and I'll do work and get in my miles while I'm doing work or watching a Hulu video or something like that. And by the way, I bought mine on Amazon for like $270. It's the best $270 I ever spent. So that's a good way to make sure you get your steps in too. Get a little treadmill, but don't just get a regular treadmill, get a treadmill desk so you can fool around on your computer. I can play World of Warcraft on it. I can, write my scripts. I can do whatever while I'm getting in my miles. So I highly recommend that. Anyway, sorry, that was a big side note there. Okay, let's move on here. James LH also writes, also seen Le Mans today with Joker. Le Mans, by the way, is the name of Ford v Ferrari in other countries. With Joker, one of my favorite films of the year. Others in your top 5 haven't been released in the UK, like Jojo or Parasite. Yeah, so right now my top 5 are Jojo Rabbit at number 1, Parasite at number 2, The Farewell at number 3, Ford v Ferrari at number 4, and tied at number 5. They won't be tied at the end of the year, but for now they're tied as Joker and Booksmart. But do go out and see those when you get a chance. All right, James also writes, not sure if you're aware, but Netflix UK has a lot less content than Netflix US. I'm not surprised, but I'm not sure if that has to do with certain broadcast. I'm absolutely 100% sure that has to do with broadcast licensing rights. I'm 100% sure of that. Not expecting you to know. Curious when Disney Plus arrives. If the same happens, be surprised as Disney owns the content. Maybe an advantage, not sure. True, but even though Disney owns the content, Disney has licensed out their content in different territories to different broadcasting companies or other different streamers. And they've got to wait until those broadcasting rights licenses elapse, and then they can bring them back. That's why that even in the US, there's some Disney-owned properties that are not on Disney Plus yet because they still have obligations to other licenses. So I'm sure there will probably be a difference when it does launch over there, but eventually, all over the world, Disney will have all of its content under one roof. It's just not starting out that way because they can't start out that way, unfortunately. All right. Suthius writes, never seen Citizen Kane, just rented it. Here we go. Now, I love Citizen Kane. It's great. There are a lot of cinephiles that consider it to be maybe the best film ever made. I'm not one of them, but I do love it. It's great, and I hope you enjoy it, my friend. All right. Matthew, where are we at here? Matthew Garrett writes, Fahrenheit 451. Wow, what a movie. 35% on Rotten Tomato. What? I was not a big fan of it, to be honest with you. Yeah, despite having a couple of killer performers in it, I gotta admit, I was also not hugely thrilled with it. I didn't think it was that great of an adaptation. But I'm glad you enjoyed it, dude. That's great. All right, Fan of Peanuts writes, one of two, still painting my house as I type this, John. I had this great thought and laughing while I'm typing it, but it would be sweet for Chris Evans. Chris Evans could have played Cyclops. The X-Men are my all-time favorite comic book movie characters. MCU is my favorite world, but I hope they nail X-Men. Well, it wouldn't have made any difference. It wouldn't have made any difference if he had been cast to play. He might have been a little bit too young to play, or maybe not, Cyclops at the time. But what is? I love the actor who plays. Hold on a second. And the actor is in, speaking of Sonic, he's in Sonic. Who played Cyclops? It is, why am I freezing on his name? Because I love this actor. James Marsden. James Marsden was great. It's just that they didn't do great things for him in the script. This is the thing. A lot of film fans forget that, that movie would have been better if this actor played that role. No, it would have been exactly the same. The performance might have been a little bit different, but it would have been the same dialogue with the character doing the exact same things, talking to the exact same people, saying the exact same lines. I'm sure a little bit of difference here and there, but ultimately, I thought James Marsden is a great actor. I love James Marsden. I think he's terrific. And him being so terrific is one of the reasons I think, as much as I love the X-Men films, one of the worst things they did was completely misuse the Cyclops character. Even though I love those movies, one of the worst things they did was how they misused the Cyclops character. Anyway, Doshi writes, I have a friend that thinks Disney is evil and racist and thinks we're crazy to pay for it. Drives me crazy for his opinion. Hey, people are going to think what they want to think. Don't let his opinion irritate you. It is what it is, so there you have it. Cinema Reviews writes, thanks to Disney Plus, I've finally been able to watch Disney's Gargoyles. I love it so far, and I already want a live action movie. Jordan Peele wanted to make it. True, I just don't think it was nearly as popular as people think it was. And I thought Gargoyles was okay. But I also, I mean, if I'm a Disney exec, I don't greenlight it. I just don't know that it would have a market. I'm just not sure it would have a market. But hey, at least it's there now. You can go and enjoy it. Brian Bodner writes, future of Universal shares Monster Universe. I think it's dead. I think we will see, just like Blumhouse now, we've got the Invisible Man coming, but it's not going to be connected to their overall monster. So I think that whole thing is dead. I think we will still see movies of those characters, but as far as one big shared cinematic universe, I think that idea is dead. Maybe they'll revisit it again in a few years, but for now, I think it's dead. Cinema Reviews writes, would you consider doing a thoughts on walks about fan entitlement? That's certainly possible. It seems like a perfect format. Didn't you say you wanted to do a video on that? Yeah, it's a deep, I don't know if I could even accomplish that on a 7-minute thoughts on walks. But it would be, I'll consider that. Because if I could figure out a way to just talk about it all in just a short little package, because there's a lot of nuance, maybe, but that's actually pretty good. It is a good topic, and it is one that I think we got to talk about. Doshi writes, Baby Yoda equals new tattoo idea. I'll tell you what, Anne, the wallpaper on her phone is that. That's the wallpaper on her phone now, and she looks at it like every 5 minutes. Because I'll be with her all day, and like we'll be driving, and all of a sudden hear, oh, and sure enough, she's just looking at her phone again. Then 5 minutes later, oh, sure enough, she's looking at the phone again. And it is what it is. Fan of Peanuts writes, Oh, yeah, sorry, we already got to that one. Suthius writes, not drink, etc., but you inject butter into your veins. No, I just like the taste of butter. I wouldn't want to bypass the flavor of butter. To me, popcorn is nothing but a butter delivery device. Rise of CJC writes, do you think Netflix needs to turn to weekly programming to compete with Disney in the future? No. No. By the way, Netflix is kicking Disney Plus's ass. Let's be clear about that. Disney Plus, 10 million users. Yay! Netflix, 150 million users. Now, Disney Plus is just getting started. Understandable, but make no mistake about it. Netflix is right now, Netflix completely dwarfs Disney Plus. Netflix has a huge library of amazing original series. Netflix isn't going anywhere. Now, that said, even though I like being a binger, I absolutely believe week by week releases of episodes is the best way to go. It helps the show develop a following, because what happens with a Netflix show, even the best ones, the show comes out, everybody talks about it for 3 days, and then nobody's talking about it again. And it's done. Doesn't give it time to generate buzz, doesn't give it time to generate word of mouth, doesn't give audience members like 3 or 4 or 5 weeks later to keep hearing about it and going, okay, maybe I'll jump on board with it then. All that's gone when you drop entire series at once. When you release a series week after week, people get excited and they talk about it. And then guess what happens? Watchmen episode 2 comes out and then everybody talks about it again. And then a week later, Watchmen episode 3 comes out and now everybody's talking about it again. When they dropped Stranger Things season 3, which is awesome, but when they dropped Stranger Things season 3, everybody talked about it for 3 or 4 days. And then who talks about it now? Nobody. Nobody talks about it anymore. If it had released week after week, people would have been talking about it for 3 or 4 months. And so I'm a binger, so I really like kind of having the whole season drop at once. But what's better for the show is to release week after week. That is clearly the better strategy. I prefer it binging all at once, but what's best for the show is to release week after week. But listen, Netflix is going to be fine. They put out a lot of great content, and no one's about to ditch on Netflix. I mean, some people are, but they're going to be just fine. All right, Fan of Peanuts writes, Chris Evans could have brought his Cap vibe, but changed it to more suit the way Cyclops will act. No, he would do whatever the script said. That's the thing. He would have had the exact same lines. You can't forget that. It's not like the actors. Some people think like the actors come in and they decide what their characters are going to say. And while there is some ad-libbing time to time on certain movies, generally speaking, it wouldn't have changed a thing. I've never seen anyone get Cyclops correct yet. James Marsden did, except they totally misused him. They totally misused him. That's the big problem. John McKinney writes, I'm sorry, but Spider-Man 2 2004 is overrated. You're absolutely incorrect about that. Spider-Man 1 2002 is superior, to each their own. And it is to each their own. I mean, like, look, we all see movies. They hit us in different ways. To me, there is no question. Spider-Man 2 is a superior movie to Spider-Man 1 in every single way. I like Spider-Man 1. I do. I like the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie. I do. But there was a good period of time when Spider-Man 2 was the best comic book movie ever made. Didn't last long, but it was for a time. That's just me. But again, all film's subjective. We watch it. It hits us in different ways. And Spider-Man 1 hit you in a way that it was a better experience for you than Spider-Man 2. And there's nothing wrong with that. All right. Doshi writes, and this is the final question of the day, guys. Then we're going to wrap it up here so I can start getting ready for our Friendsgiving. Here we go. Doshi writes, I normally watch big blockbuster films, but thanks to you, I've discovered a lot of movies I've heard of. Thank you, John. Well, thank you so much for that, Doshi. I appreciate that. And, you know, it just goes back to what that story I've told. The first number of years that I was doing my job, I felt like part of my job was trying to talk people into giving comic book movies a shot. Try giving these big, epic genre films a shot. Because I felt, I mean, everybody loves movies, but people aren't giving these comic book movies a chance. I mean, it could be a really good genre. Now, and in the last number of years, it's the opposite. I feel like part of my job is to convince people, hey guys, there's other movies other than big comic book movies. I mean, yeah, we all know and love the comic book movies, but there's other amazing films that are not comic book movies. Maybe you should give those a shot too. So I find it very affirming, Doshi, that you would say. So thank you for that, dude. Okay, and Suthia slipped in one more. You got me hyped for Frozen 2. Any new trailers you saw? No, they don't generally show trailers at these advanced screenings, so there were no new trailers at it. But yeah, listen, I'm not saying Frozen 2 is the best film of the year by any stretch of the imagination. All I'm saying is I walked in expecting it to be good. I was very pleasantly surprised by it. I think the music's fantastic. It was way funnier than I thought it would be, but it's also darker and it's also more adult. And it's almost like a couple of times the movie speaks to the audience saying, hey, we've all grown up a little, because the last Frozen movie was years ago. And they know their audience has grown up a little bit. And there's certain moments in the film where they directly address, we're all getting older. We've grown up a bit, that sort of thing. And it's just an impressive movie. I was impressed. I was really quite impressed with Frozen 2. I think a lot of people will be. Anyway, guys, that will do it for today's installment of Open Mic. Guys, thank you so much for being here. And I hope you guys have a tremendous weekend ahead of yourselves. I know I'm already having a good time. I hope you guys are too. Don't forget the John Campea Show returns Monday through Friday. Make sure you come back and join us. And listen, if I give, and I'm saying if I give this Jedi Fallen Order another shot and I'm finding it's working out, I might tomorrow do a little bit of a play and chat. I might do a bit of a play and chat tomorrow night with me playing Jedi Fallen Order. It'll be bad. Oh God, it'll be bad. Because I'm no good with this effing thing at all. I am no good with this whatsoever. So it'll be bad, but I might do it. Again, no promises. We just might. So keep your eyes open for that. Anyway, guys, that will do it for me for now. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.